we're getting abuse every day. It's every hour we have phone calls that are abusive. We have patients shouting at us, screaming at us. We've had receptionists spat at. And the same, they come in clutching newspaper articles in their face-to-face appointments telling us when are we going to start seeing them face-to-face. They're being almost gaslighted into believing that when we're actually...
What do they think you're doing? What do they do? They think you're playing table football?
I just don't get it because,
or origami.
Do you know
what?
Well, I've been this weekend. I spent my weekend doing COVID vaccinations on the booster program, the flu vaccination clinic. I'm here again this morning. I'm going to be here all week.
Yes.
I don't understand how they don't realise that when they've come to get their COVID vaccinations, when they've come in with symptoms that could be COVID, and when we've been treating them, and yes, we've had lots of patients who didn't come in during the pandemic because they had symptoms that were worrying, but they were scared to come to the surgery. We were actively trying to encourage people to come down, and I just don't get it. And
well, you do get it. I mean, you get it intellectually. Yeah. You mentioned they come in clutching the newspaper articles. They come in with their TV and radio agitators ringing in their ears, and they come in and they spit at your receptionist. I mean, it's like night following day. It's if they can. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If they can turn you against firefighters, they can turn you against anyone. And it's your turn, Jamie. You're a GP, I'm presuming.
That's it, yeah, GP Northampton. It's the same media, though, that completely ignored the attack on a GP surgery in Manchester, where, one GP, 4 receptionists were put into hospital with head injuries. This kind of stuff isn't getting covered in the press, but it's being stoked up by the media.
You don't? Well, I don't know the details of that myself, so I'll accept a modicum of guilt. But I don't know whether that attack was a result of pent-up frustrations, arguably stoked by media coverage, or whether it was an entirely different kettle of fish. And I don't mind for the moment about that, because I do know now what you have told me. So, I mean, perhaps it was a little bit of hyperbole when you said every hour. So, I mean, really, would you go a day ever without somebody shouting in your waiting room? Is that shouting in your surgery?
Sometimes it can be aggressive, and sometimes it can be passive-aggressive. It's that comment at the end of the consultation, like, oh, thank goodness you're seeing me now after you've been doing nothing all pandemic. It's those kind of things that, do you know what? If you're close to retirement, that's going to push you over the edge. Forget the money. That's the thing that's going to really be
well, this is the thing that I really do struggle to get my head around, in that what they are doing, whether they realise it or not, and I think for many of them, this isn't a defence, but it's a bit like having these fixed gear bicycles. You've only got one gear. They just don't know how else to behave. If you've got to put a front page on a right-wing newspaper, all you know how to do is to turn your readers against whoever today's target is, whether it's firefighters or bureaucrats or civil servants or people in Brussels or single mothers or the unemployed. It's literally all you do. It's like the only language you can speak. But what they're doing here is creating an environment in which GPs are less likely to want to do the job for much longer.
Well, it's even worse than that, because we've had hospital consultants who will believe it all as well. Last month, I organised a teaching event. I run teaching events for GPs, and one of the things we had a hospital consultant saying, look, when are you guys going to open your doors again? It's really inconvenient, blah, blah, blah. And it's a degree of divide and conquer. If you divide the profession, you can then start trying to, I do whatever you want to us. And I'm not sure what it is, but my suspicion is there's a degree of, well, let's make it all private. And actually, that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, we're back where we often are with the current government. Is there a sinister master plan, in this case, the sort of Chomsky-esque model of surreptitious privatisation, or is it just a complete absence of clarity and leadership leading to confusion and catastrophe? And it's going to get worse, because the lockdown will have cloaked a lot of symptoms and seen a lot of people less likely to go to the doctor, and that means that there will be a backup of potential problems. But what the hell do you want if you've got a backup of potential medical problems? You want a medical service, a health service that feels well-resourced, well-respected, and with high morale. So everybody currently trying to undo the morale, undermine the morale of the doctors and nurses will have, if not literal, then metaphorical blood on their hands.